You and I, we need to have a talk about something.
Hey, this is Brain Chen. Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You and I, we need to have a talk about something about what an offseason means to me versus what it means to you, because I think that we're kind of on different pages right now, and I want us to get back on track. Also, around the NHL, some news has been announced, and I think it's quite interesting. And then finally, my favorite Friday segment, Are We Feeling Blue? Was this a good day or was this a bad day for the St. Louis Blues? So we will discuss further. I do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I find it interesting what we have gone through on this week's episode, because we have talked about a lot of things. We went Blues Day yesterday with the Blues' 6-year anniversary of winning the Cup. And we talked about an off season, kind of, because I had an episode where I said that I was surprised about the silence. Now, obviously, free agency hasn't begun yet because the finals are still in play, which I stated. I just want to put that out there. I did state that. What I said was, and again, I know what I said because it's me. I do these episodes. I do my show prep. Is I'm surprised about the silence surrounding the Blues in terms of rumors. That's what I said. And somehow me saying that got the narrative all twisted. I know certain things cannot be done yet. Now, what could the Blues do? They could extend Joel Hofer, or at least have rumors of it. There's silence. And I just think that when we're having conversations, especially now that, we're already at June 13th, we need to be realistic. I am not going to sit here and have to explain why I am concerned about the silence and rumors when that's evident. Is that sometimes when you don't hear things, that's not so great. And when I made it very vocal and known that I want the Blues to re-sign Joel Hofer, that's a reality. That's something that this team should do. And I think that for you and I, we have a lot of conversations, especially in the off season when for us things are a little bit dead. But for you and I, it's the off season. Now, I know for the NHL, it's not the off season since the finals are still in play. However, it is, and at least to me, and I want to know your opinion. Do you consider this the off season for you? Because for me, I feel like this is the off season, since I am a Blues fan and my team is not playing. Now, again, I don't know why there was so much confusion surrounding that. And I don't know why there was a bunch of people upset that I said that. But I don't know. Like, I had to come on here and I had to say that. And here's the thing, by the way. Because Joel Hofer is an RFA, the Blues hold his rights and they have the opportunity to sign him before July 1st. Let me reiterate that to you. They have the opportunity to re-sign him before July 1st. And this is where I get into my frustrations. Because here's the thing, he's already under contract with the Blues. And players on expiring contracts, believe it or not, can be extended early. Under NHL rules, teams are allowed to negotiate and sign contract extensions with players who are still under contract as early as July 1st of the second to last year of the deal. So in Hofer's case, yeah. So in Hofer's case, they can sign before. I'm sorry, I could brain freeze for a second. Um, Anywho, that's expiring contract. So this is for Joel Hofer. His current contract ran through this season. Since he's under this contract, the Blues can negotiate and sign him and extend him at any time. They don't have to wait until it expires. So the other one was for the ones that expires. Whole other thing. Except this one was different. Like that one was a different scenario. And I got confused because I have my notes and I wrote it down and I was like, wait, did I put down the correct note? Yes, I did. I knew I wasn't crazy. I know my NHL rules. But yeah, in short, or got either player underneath contract. So that's what I'm saying. Like the Blues have the opportunity to do so. And I think that's where my frustration is stemming from, is that we haven't heard anything about it in terms of rumors. And quite frankly, not that I'm not counting the Blues out, but at least to me, it just seems like maybe this is going to be something that could be a potential storyline for the offseason. Because this is the other thing, too. And I think that the whole sense of like we need to talk, it's not necessarily just Joel Hofer, but it is the sense that we're not hearing rumors. So while I understand the Blues can't do anything because obviously it's not free agency yet, um, you sometimes hear rumors about certain players being interested in other teams, right? Which we're going to get into coming up in the next segment. But that is my main point. My point wasn't like, I don't know, hockey, blah, blah, blah. No, that was not my point. So when that narrative got twisted and turned in a way, that didn't make sense to me. We also need to talk fast. Yesterday was We Went Blues Day. One of my favorite days of the year because we get to reminisce on when we became Stanley Cup champions for the first time. And one thing that I neglected to say in that episode, because I kept on getting emotional, I kept on like crying a lot, was I don't take that for granted that day. That cup, what, oh man, I don't take it for granted by any means. And as much as you know, I say how frustrated I am with this team at times, I am very aware that we did win the cup recently. 6 years is still recent, right? And I think that there's teams out there that have not won the cup at all, or it's been decades on decades. Like that was us. We never won the cup before this. So I just want to say too that I am very aware that it is still recent, even though it doesn't feel like that, because we literally had a whole pandemic that we had to survive right after. And there was a funny memory, well, not like ha 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 funny, but during the pandemic, it was supposed to be playoff time. And they just showed the entirety of like the Blues' cup run for free. Now, I don't know if you were able to see that, but from where I was in West Virginia, that's what was on TV all the time. It was like a repeat of the Blues cup win and run. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah. Anyways, I am gonna talk to you about, well, let's say around the NHL, there's a couple of things that I kind of want to get you thinking about, okay? But first I have to talk to you about my friends. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and tonight, well, the series is tied 2-2 as Oklahoma was able to win. and FanDuel is making it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Personally, tonight, I always thought that, my boy Tyrese Halliburton, with the Halliburton, I thought he was gonna put up some more points. So I had him for 30. He did not get that. However, it is okay because with FanDuel, there's always a new way to make my money back. And that means the next game on Monday, maybe I'll put him at like 22 points. So new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to fanduel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more of FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. So it was announced today that Mitchell Marner, aka Mitch Marner, from the Toronto Maple Leafs, will not be returning to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Mitch Marner to the Blues. No. Yeah, so that report came out today, and it was kind of obvious that that was going to happen. However, it was made official. And what I would like to say to that is a couple of things. One, obviously he wasn't returning. I don't know any single person that thought that he was going to return. I think that he would be a horrible fit for the Blues for a multitude of reasons. And here's the thing. I don't think that Mitch Marner, he's this bad person in the locker room. I don't know. I just don't think that he would fit on this team, okay? And right now, you also have to look at the cap space issues, right? With the cap hit. The Blues are not in a financial position to take that. And again, it would screw over everything this team has built, okay? And to make it happen, if the Blues were to get Marner, which they shouldn't, they would have to trade away good players, not players, and no offense, but not a Letty or a Tucker. I'm talking a Bushi type of player. Okay. Um, the Blues are also rebuilding with young talent, okay? Like a Robert Thomas, a Jakey Neighbors, a Ruzi. And Mitch Marner is more of a playmaker in a finesse system. He's really not heavy on the forecheck or physical in that sense, right? And I don't know, it's still a very different type of style, okay? Marner also doesn't really show up in the playoffs, let's be so for real. And the Blues, despite them losing to Winnipeg, still showed out fantastically. I made that word up in the first round. So I just don't feel again, his presence would help that much. He also has a full no movement clause. So he can kind of block the trades, right? But he's an RFA, so whatever. And why would the Blues want to convince him to join? That's stupid. Anyways, you would also probably lose a guy like a Dvorsky or Snuggie, by the way, besides a roster player. I didn't mention that. Yeah, so it's really not right. And I'm not saying that Mitch Marner is a bad player because he's not. He's a very good player. But at the same time, it just wouldn't make sense by any means for the Blues to lose themselves for one player. That just doesn't make any sense. This is a hockey team, a very gritty type of hockey team that I feel just they don't need that. And then you have other moves that went down, right? And okay, this bothers me. I am bothered. Chris Kreider officially became an Anaheim Duck. So he was traded to the Ducks. days ago, and he waived his 15 for a prospect in Kerry Terrence and a 2025 third round pick. And they're also the Ducks are sending a 2025 fourth round pick to New York. Wow. Now this was a really bad. It depends. Anaheim will cover Kreider's full $6.5 million cap hit for the next 2 seasons, giving the Rangers better salary. It was insane. Like, he's been with the Rangers for 13 seasons. So for me, that was kind of a shock. I just didn't expect him to go to Anaheim. But obviously, it's really good for, the Ducks to get that veteran talent. So I thought that was kind of crazy. So we have him. So let's go talk about some rumors, because there's some rumors with Ivan Provorov, defenseman who was on the Columbus Blue Jackets, right? So this is interesting. I feel like Ivan Provorov is in a situation where he's becoming more and more valuable by the day. I don't know. I don't know necessarily what they're going to do with him. I don't know what teams are going to be interested in him. I heard New York, actually, ironically, but I still think this is a player that is attainable for the Blues. And you might call me crazy and you might say I'm a little naive. And hey, listen, I am. However, I do think that the Blues would benefit substantially from having a guy like Ivan Provorov on their team. And right now, with the moves that are being made in the NHL, you were seeing these players get swept up fast. And the last thing that you want to happen is for a player who, personally, in my opinion, isn't worth the money, be valued at a high price, just due to the fact that the other players that were going to be key players this free agency are gone. I think that there is a shift in the NHL right now, and defensemen are being valued at a completely different landscape than they were in the past. I think that defensemen in the past, they were just looked at as one-dimensional type of players, and now they're looked at as multi-dimensional, which is so good for the game of hockey. However, at the same time, it means that you're going to have to invest a little bit more money into those said players. So again, it is still possible with Ivan Provorov, but the Blues might have to spend just a little bit more money on him. Let's talk fast about the Stanley Cup Finals. Finals are tied 2-2. 3 out of 4 of the games went to overtime. But the reason why I'm bringing up the finals, it isn't because the Panthers gave up a 3-goal lead. It is because of Matthew Kachchuck. I have a gut feeling that Matthew Kachchuck will play for the St. Louis Blues one day. More so than Brady right now. That is my bet. I just love watching Matthew play. I think that he is such a talented player. And in my opinion, I really, really, really have to say that I would do anything to get Matthew Kachuk on the Blues. And here we go. Like, I wouldn't trade away like a player like a Robert Thomas. But like, if you were telling me like, okay, trade Jake Neighbors and we can get Matthew Kachuk, yeah, I would do it. He is just such a fun player to watch, and he is what this team needs. Now, I don't think if the Blues get Matthew Kachuk, they're going to win the cup. Like, that's like a given, but it wouldn't hurt. So whenever I'm watching